Thank you for tuning into The Truth with Trinity, and I am your host, Trinity. And if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, I'd like to send you a warm welcome. Here I talk about issues that happen within the Black community, hopefully for some resolution or at least some food for thought to go about your daily way. So without further ado, I'd like to jump into this episode's topic, which is why Black men refuse to settle down with one woman. So I'm going to make a small disclaimer. When I say why Black men refuse to settle down with one Black woman or one woman, period, this does not apply to every Black man, and neither does the topic at hand apply to every person who practices polygyny. Speaking of polygyny, I would like to bring it up. I've been online like everybody else. I go online. So even though polygyny is millions or however long that humans have existed, it's about that old, right? But it seems like in the Black community, this has been like an uproar for the last year, 1 to 3 years. Like this is really circulating around the Black community online, especially. So I'm looking online and I'm looking at all these comments, and I'm seeing people really discuss this topic about a man having more than one lover, specifically more than one wife. Okay. So I wanted to first give the definition of polygyny because it's different than polygamy. So this is where a man has more than one wife, right? Now, many Black brothers are saying that a lot of Black women's westernized society way of thinking is abnormal or unnatural to the way some men view a relationship. So therefore, a lot of Black women fail at not only discussing or being in a polygynous relationship, but they fail at being in a monogamous relationship as well. Okay. So, with that, it's like, well, Black women, in America, the ones that, are born in America, we've been westernized. Okay. Westernized way of thinking, but so has the Black man, the American Black man, So I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate because I was online. I heard a brother that's well known in the conscious Black community. He was giving his reasoning as to why more Black couples and people should, engage in polygamy and how it would save the Black community. So I want to play a little devil's advocate with that. So I wanted to start off by saying that some of the reasons Black men give for desiring polygyny practices, okay? So one of them is they mentioned 11 women to one man ratio, okay? So this is a big one. There's 11 women to one man, okay? So this is a rationale that you hear come up a lot, right? And then a lot of guys will say that there's men in the Bible, okay, in ancient times that practiced having more than one wife, okay? And then you'll hear another rationale is that there's a Black male shortage amongst Black women. Now, I can't speak for all Black women, okay, or the way a person chooses to live their life, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here, starting with number one. Men and women ought to be careful when listening to information from others, and especially on virtual platforms, okay? Because just because it sounds right doesn't mean it necessarily is right, okay? Number two, make sure the information that you receive doesn't conflict with the God you serve, okay? Because, there's the number one and only God, which is the God over Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God over Israel, so we've got God, but then, people turn to their own ways of thinking, okay? And sometimes they can misconstrue or twist and turn things to their own liking. So we have to be careful when we're listening to new information or information that sounds good to our ears, but is it good for our soul? Also, okay, there wouldn't be such a Black male shortage if Black men would stop killing each other, because that's one of the things that this conscious brother brought up in the interview he was doing in a segment. He was saying that, there needs to be one man and there needs to be like a few women to one man because of the Black male shortage. But, another alternative to just saying 3 or 4 Black women need to be with one Black man is if Black men would stop killing each other. Okay, so that's a great one right there. And also, if so many Black men were not in prison, okay, because there's a lot of Black men that are in prison while there is a shortage for Black women and their selection with Black men. Okay, number two, majority of today's Black men have yet to understand one black woman. How do they think to jump to more women? So that kind of questions, put you into question, the ulterior motive of some of these black men that say that they want to have more than one wife. Like, they can barely understand one black woman or a woman, period, regardless as to what their race is. They can barely comprehend one woman. So what is more than one woman good? What good is that going to do for them? Number three, majority of black men find difficulty in marrying one woman, less alone having multiple wives. Okay, so that's a problem. I'm not saying this is a problem with all black men, but for them to want to jump, so many of them wanting to jump and say, I want 2 or 3 or 4 wives, but they don't even have one wife. They can't even commit to one woman legally. Number 4, many men, regardless of race, fail to master the behavior of one woman, less alone more than one. So I've brought this up a lot of times. A lot of, especially our brothers, they master the bedroom and physically with a woman, but they don't know anything too much else about a woman. Some men, they don't care to know anything about a woman, and her essence and who she is, other than physicality. So, if you, like I said, that kind of goes into, if you don't know one woman, how are you gonna, master being with multiple women? If you can't, master her emotional needs and the things that she needs, how are you gonna do that for 3 or 4 women? I mean, I'm just curious. Number 5, many black men have trouble supporting and providing for one woman with children. So, I'm talking about in this instance, if you have a woman that you have children by, they have a problem, and a lot of them don't want to, and find difficulty. So even if they want to, some of them just don't have the financial means. Okay, and some that do have the financial means, they just simply don't want to do it. So if a lot of black men are having problems with supporting one family, how are they going to have, because each woman, you're most likely going to have children by, not saying all of them, but most likely. So each woman comes with children if you have children, and you can't, if you're having problems with supporting one child, a few children by one woman, how are you going to support 3 women that have like 2 or 3 kids apiece? So this is a question for the black man. If you have problems supporting one family, how are you going to support multiple families? Okay, and one other thing is, a lot of our black men, not all of them, they're already being forced to have to support a family through child support. So this would definitely be big. This would have to be something that you wanted to do voluntarily. Okay, shouldn't black men master providing for one household first, at least? Number 6, many black men feel as though they shouldn't provide for the woman. So how would multiple households work? So you've got a lot of guys that do this 50-50 thing. You've got a lot of guys that they want a woman to take care of them. Okay? And the thing is, there has to be benefits for the woman to be in a type of relationship like that. And me personally, I've said it once, I'll say it again, it's not for me, but I have respect for other people who may practice it, and this may be their way of life, and they're serious about their commitment into what they're doing, both male and female parties, so that's them. I'm no judge. But as for me, if I'm with the other girls here, some of them, hey, I'm a one-man woman, so I don't, I don't like to share, and, so, but like I said, not to say I don't have respect for people who do practice it, but, these are definitely questions for guys, and maybe even some women, but definitely some guys that just want to jump into it and say, hey, I want 3 or 4 wives. It's like, what is your rationale behind it? Okay. Also, this isn't to say all black men, okay, but we do have an epidemic within the black community of domestic violence against women when it comes to black men assaulting and killing black women. And also black men failing to see the need on why black women need protection. So how would black men taking on more women solve the fact that the average black man doesn't see a need to protect women? Okay, so that's a big one. If black men are using the excuse, a lot of them are saying, hey, it's this feminist movement that's got me not protecting black women, which I think that's just a cover up for some black men that are abusive, and they're using that. They don't have any intentions on protecting black women, whether if there was a feminist movement or not that had taken place. And then you have some guys that are saying this, and they don't see a reason to protect women. They may not even like women other than sex. So my thing is, with us having such a problem in the black community with violence against women at the hands of black men, would this be such a good idea to even consider anything like this on the table when the black man has a hard time respecting one black woman? Okay, so how would black men taking on more women solve the fact that the average black man doesn't see a need to protect women? Also, one black man mentioned that it would help generate wealth within the black community. So I heard that argument. When black men staying out of prison reduce black male on male homicide, and for black men to continue to lessen the educational gap that exists between black women and men, along with marriage, would help create wealth in the black community. So the devil's advocate, once again, I'm saying I'm not sure if necessarily it's a good idea for there to be 3 or 4 women with, children to tag along with one man, when another solution could be, like I said, if black men stop killing each other left and right, if black men, stop going to jail, if black men would go get their education, some type of skill or trade, if college isn't for them, or at least have a successful business of their own to be able to provide and to go ahead and produce marriage with one woman and have as many children as he would like, at least that's another way to quickly build generational wealth within the black community. So like I said, once again, we'd have more men if black men would stop killing each other and going to jail versus this other suggestion. Also, many black men are bringing up biblical scriptures to stand next to their desire for more women, right? So, these are guys that have never read the Bible. Some of these guys have, they denounce the Bible. They don't really care for any words that are in the Bible, but they want to point at these male figures in the Bible that have more than one woman, So it's like, okay, so I'm not saying every man that's bringing biblical scriptures into these topics and conversation doesn't read the Bible, but some of them don't. Some of them don't even believe in God, but yet they want to use the Bible to tell a woman about, more than one woman. Okay? Some men don't believe in the Bible, but want to reference multiple women to a biblical source. Make mention of Abraham or Solomon and David, because these are guys that, they had more than one woman, yet we aren't living in ancient times. That's one thing, they like to say, that God, wouldn't have put it in the Bible if, this wasn't a good practice. But number one, that was a long time ago. We're living now. And maybe, or they like to make mention of kings and sultans that have wives. So these are kings and, royal men, so they're always making reference to these type of guys, or Muslim men or Indian men, okay? Also, as black people, we can sometimes tend to base our whole lives off of fads or something that may be fashionable or popular, So like I said, as black people, we have to be careful that, this is becoming popular. So I'm not saying that this hasn't existed for a long time, certain men having more than one wife. But this is now becoming a fad, it seems like, to some people. For some people, it's a way of life. For some people, it's a duty, and it's something that they've been practicing within their bloodlines, or this is something they wanted to start up, or some type of tradition. So that's different. But we have to be careful as black people, We tend to make things that are fashionable and that are fads, we tend to make it our life. And I question, and I just wanted to say, be careful that, that you're not looking at something that you may see that looks cool and just make it your whole life when it may not be the right decision for you. Whereas for others, something like the seriousness in taking on the burden of extra wives is a way of life for some men, because it's a burden. So this is not just, I get to have sex with multiple women. Isn't this great? This is, oh, wow, I have a responsibility. I have a duty. This becomes a burden. This becomes the heaviness, extra heaviness on a man's shoulders, and like I said before, a lot of men don't even want the heaviness and the responsibility load of one wife, so, and they don't even want to get married. So, it's just something to think about, Some men take on more than one wife. So this is some of the reasons why some men do take on more than one wife. And I'm not saying it's limited to only these reasons, but this is just some of them. Their brother or uncle died and took on their deceased relative's wife. for protection of the woman and her children. Okay, so this is, somebody in the man's one of his relatives, male relatives, he died, and so he doesn't want his relative's wife to be led astray or unprotected or not provided for. So he may marry his brother's wife and protect her and his nieces and nephews, or it could be anybody in his family. So this is just one of the reasons. Okay, their current wife is medically ill or unable to function sexually. Okay, so that's serious. These are serious things on why some men do it. Some men may prefer many children to pass on their fortune. And when I say fortune, I mean wealth, a massive amount of wealth, or to make sure the succession to the throne has a greater chance to pass on to one of his sons or children. Okay, so this isn't just men that are struggling to pay their own bills, living check to check. They don't have anything to offer a woman. This is men that, hey, they want to be able to divide up their money and have it spread about when they die. This is a man that, he could be a king or something. He wants to make sure that the throne goes to one of his bloodline. So he needs about 10 or 15 or 20 kids, or he needs about 30 or 40 kids. Okay. But not this thing, with guys who are barely making it. They're going to want a woman, all his women to work. So they're basically taking care of him, and, a apartment somewhere or a little townhouse. You need some land somewhere. I'm not saying that I condone it, but I'm just saying that if you're going to do this, this isn't just something you just want to, it's just because you just want to have sex with other women, something definitely to think about. But reasons not to look for. So I want to go over reasons not to look for more than one woman. Okay. Just because you see another man who practices polygyny. Okay, so just because you see it and you see other people talking about it doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. You see it on a video, so now you want to do it. Okay, you think it looks cool, so you see a guy with 2 wives on his arm. He's getting a kiss on each cheek. He's getting a peck on the cheek from each woman, so it looks cool, so you want to do it, right? It looks macho, right? Lack of self-control, so you definitely don't want to do this. If you don't have your finances in order, you're not spiritually, this is like a must. It's like, to me, it's like a last resort. And I just don't think we're there yet as black people in the black community. Like I said, if black men would stop killing each other, if they would spare each other's lives, if they would stop, becoming incarcerated at such a high ratio, then we wouldn't have such a black male shortage. And like I said, the last thing is lack of self-control. That's definitely not a reason to want, more than one wife. Wanting to satisfy a sense of control and abuse by displaying it and openly having more than one woman as a form of emotional abuse, because, especially if ladies are listening, you have to really question, what would be the rationale or reasoning behind a man saying that he wants more than one wife, This is something that's definitely not to be taken lightly. And I think it's better, like I said, if black men focus on one woman at a time. That pretty much concludes this segment, though. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. Is this something that a lot of black men are wanting because of self-control? Or, because of lack of self-control? Or is this something that was in the Bible that they feel like they're comfortable with referencing the Bible to, as to say this is supposed to be legit now, or not? Do you believe in it or do you not? Do you think it will harm the black community? Do you think it wouldn't? Let me know what you think down in the comment section. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time to listen. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, share with others, and hit the like button. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, or you'd like to make a financial contribution to thetruthwithtrinity.com, you can do so at thetruthwithtrinity.com. You can also listen to my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. And always remember, if you can't tell the truth with anyone else, you can with Trinity. Till next time, take care.